totally surprised. I mean, I didn't know, like, I didn't hear of anyone being injured or anything like that, and they didn't say why I was going up. The old Chevy Malibu.
Kris Beech once again has a chance to make his NHL dream a permanent reality. Meanwhile, for the baby Penguins, Beech's promotion means opportunity. Forward Shane Endicott will now be counted on to take Beech's spot in the lineup after sitting out the previous game as a healthy scratch.
I'm never going to be happy when I get scratched. That's something a hockey player never wants in his whole career. I guess I was surprised because I had a really strong year last year and I took for granted at the beginning of the year. Maybe I thought it would be easier than it really was. And I think maybe it was probably a good wake-up call for me.
Hey, welcome to Intangibles for Performance, presented to you by Inmind Training, myself, Kris Beech. And today we are talking about the flourishing strength of being empathetic and caring for others. And now another one of those flourishing strengths where perhaps, those in sports that are ultra competitive, intense, sometimes aggressiveness is required. The question is, well, how does being empathetic and caring towards others relate in that environment? And it's a good question. Because again, my sport, hockey, one of those environments where that intensity, aggressiveness, competitiveness drives success, fuels success. So where does this strength fit in? And again, this is a strength that's derived from years of research as critical to success, especially within a group and within a team. Now, when we talk about performance of the mind, well-being of the mind, which is a big part of these series and what I do as a coach, we have to remember in this case that the mind, and what I work off as the definition of the mind from Dr. Dan Siegel, is the one that makes sense most to me, is that the mind is not only what's going on, the cognitive functions of the brain, thinking, emotional processing, memory, our impulses to act. This is one element of the mind. The mind consists of the mind-heart connection, the nervous system, and what's going on essentially in the whole body. This transfer of energy and information through the whole body in relation to our external environment and what's going on in our external environment. Now, the performance of the mind and the well-being of the mind is, yes, we have to manage that as an individual and pay attention to that self-awareness as an individual. And there is a lot of talk around self-improvement, self-care, and taking good care of ourselves in that sense, and a lot of work around the mind and the health of the mind. But what I don't see a lot of is the necessity to include others in that conversation. And again, this comes from Dr. Dan Siegel and his perspective on performance, his perspective on well-being of the mind. A well mind is a mind that performs optimally. And so, and from his perspective, yes, we have to manage ourselves and our self-awareness and make positive choices on how to respond to our external and internal environment. But a big part of managing that energy and information is our relationships. and what's going on in our social situations, our social awareness, because we are not keeping that energy and information to ourselves. Whatever's going on inside our mind is being shared with the people that we're around, either directly or indirectly. And vice versa. Whatever's going on in those people is being shared with us, either directly or indirectly. So, social awareness, empathy for others, caring for others is an important piece to performance and well-being of our mind. So, in a team sport in particular, this is huge. This is huge. Our ability to be socially aware, to care for others' success, to find joy and empathize with the success of our teammates, to understand and be patient with our teammates, to be authentic with our teammates, is very, very critical and important to maximizing our performance and our potential. Now, as you saw in the clip at the start, we're at a point in this story in my career. Started as a young prospect, 14 years old, successful junior career, high draft pick, a lot of hype. Went into Pittsburgh, aspirations of a franchise player, an all-star, external expectations of that type of player, big expectations, big hype. First year played in the league, did pretty well as a 20-year-old. Second year, sent down to the minors with no expectation of going there. So, a big blow. Now, I spent a significant part of my time in Pittsburgh, in Wilkes-Barre, as an AHL player, a minor league player. And this was an ultra competitive environment, because not only are we competing with our opponents, but, and this goes especially for hockey, I was brought up in a culture where we compete with our opponents and we're competing with our teammates for ice time, for recognition. So being brought up in that culture, I would find it very difficult to be happy for my teammates when they were successful. Even my best friends, like guys that I really loved and spent basically every minute of the day with at that time. When they had success, I had a hard time being happy for them because of this culture of competing for ice time, competing for recognition. We have to get away from that. We have to get away from that perspective, move away from that in order to really maximize what the experience can provide us in terms of performance potential and also enjoyment. The joy of the game, the joy of competition, the joy of coming together as a group and competing towards a common goal. So this competitiveness amongst teammates doesn't make sense, and it never really did, but it was just part of that culture that I came up with. Now, a friend of mine, Travis Thomas, I saw speak at a conference, a great coach, a great leadership and performance coach, and he does so through improv comedy, and his presentation, he mentioned something about collaborating with your teammates, collaborating with your opponents, where your teammates' success is something that you should cheer for, that you should be happy for, because you know that you will rise up and contribute and be motivated to contribute in the same way. So something that you can cheer for and celebrate and be happy for and empathize in their success. Feel their joy and success when they have it. So really important, to be aware of and practice. And talk about a lot of the players I played with throughout my career, and these players had this ability. One of my favorite teammates, Alexander Ovechkin, he had this ability. And again, you can debate that he was so good that's why he was able to be happy for others' success. So there's that up for debate. But you could also debate that part of his success was that he could feel and empathize with the joy of other people's success. And he was a guy that he was scoring 50 goals, and you could feel how happy he was for you when you scored your 8th goal. So these are the types of qualities that we can work towards and use these players as examples and mentors in that sense. So really important to have empathy, empathize with your teammates, care for your teammates, find joy in their success. Also understand that they're going through this environment. They're going through the ups and downs just like you are, and we can make that connection with one another and support one another in that way. So this is really about being a leader. It's about influencing others in a positive way. It's about being a good teammate. It's about being a positive influence in our other relationships within our support network, and understanding that performance of the mind and potential of the mind, well-being of the mind, isn't solely based on ourselves. It has there's a big component of our interactions with one another, that sharing of energy and information, where we can find maximizing our potential in our mind and in our well-being. So that's it for today's Flourishing Strength, being empathetic and caring for others. I look forward to seeing you soon.